Welcome to the 2021 Made in Connecticut Manufacturing Summit. It's great to see so many manufacturing leaders in the room today, not through a video screen. The knowledge and energy and the passion that you all bring, I think we can solve any issues that we have in front of us. And I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of sick of the virtual Zoom event functions that we've been doing. I want to thank all of you for your leadership. Connecticut has done a fantastic job addressing the pandemic and getting ready to rebuild with a strong, hopefully, economic recovery. And that's a testament to all of you. So thank you very much for everything that you've done since day one of this pandemic. Many of you were on the front line keeping your manufacturing facilities open and navigating a very topsy-turvy world. So thank you very much for everything you've done. You're a very good-looking crew, too, and hopefully some of you follow us on social media. So I'm going to get a picture of all you guys. This is only our second in-person event since March of 2020, believe it or not. It's been a long time, and my staff is still getting used to my sarcasm. Allie, I'll send that to you. Make sure you tag everybody in the room. That'd be great. Today's summit is made possible from great friends at TD Bank. You'll be hearing from Mike in a little bit, as well as additional support from our sponsors, RSM, Guardsight, Stanley Black & Decker, and the DAC Group. Many of you who know me know I was in the manufacturing sector for 20 years, and manufacturing is near and dear to my heart, and it's the core of the mission of CBIA, Concept, and Ready CT. I'm going to give you a little history lesson here, so hold on. I've only got 10 minutes, but we're going to go back to 1815. That's when a group of manufacturing leaders formed what was then known as the Connecticut Society for the Encouragement of American Manufacturers. Not the best name. Later rebranded as the Manufacturing Association of Connecticut, probably much more appropriate. But that's the roots of CBIA. We go back to 1850, and it all started with some manufacturers who were a little upset about some embargoes and some dumping that was happening. And that set in motion 206 years of businesses collaborating, protecting, and promoting the state's rich legacy of ingenuity, innovation, and pushing for government accountabilities, whether it's taxes, regulations, or labor mandates. In 1971, the Manufacturing Association of Connecticut and then Connecticut Chamber of Commerce came together and merged and was rebranded as CBIA, the organization you all know today. A few years ago, we partnered with Concept and Ready CT to form the dynamic trio that we have become. And thanks to you all, this is something I found out that I didn't know before joining the organization. CBIA is one of the largest state manufacturing associations in the country. Typical Connecticut, we're always punching above our weight class, as Colin Cooper likes to say. When we meet with our peer groups in the National Association of Manufacturers, or NAM, and we get together, we're actually the second largest association with 100,000 employees, which makes up more than 65% of the Connecticut workforce, manufacturing workforce. As many of you know, we collaborate with the entire manufacturing ecosystem. Many of here are in the room today, and we appreciate the partnership and support of you all. And we've highlighted them this year in the manufacturing report that will be discussed later today. So if you turn to the back, you'll see many of the folks who are in the manufacturing ecosystem. One of the questions I often get are, who does what? It's an alphabet soup here in Connecticut. What programs are out there? And so we've put some of them in today's program, and hopefully that's a good resource for you all. We're going to release the report later today in collaboration with RSM. We're very appreciative of their partnership. Ryan McGurk is here to talk with CBIA board member Michelle Etzel, Graham Robinson of Stanley Black & Decker, another board member, and a guy, I don't know if many of you know him, he'll be making his debut today, named Ari Santiago. He has this little podcast that he does. Ari is a force of nature and will be part of that panel to talk about the report. We've got some celebrities in the room today. Mayor Laura Hordick's with us. She was at our Econ Summit a couple weeks ago talking about everything she's doing in the town of Stratford to support small businesses and rebuild Main Street. And Mayor, it's great to see you again, and thanks for having us down here. And we're really happy about the mask mandate, besides the way. Colin Cooper's in the room today, another celebrity. I feel like we're at the manufacturing Emmys with all the celebrities in the room here. Colin's right there at the center table. As many of you know, since coming on board as the state's first chief manufacturing officer and, again, Connecticut punching above its weight class, the first chief manufacturing officer in the entire country, Colin's been very generous with his time. Big supporter of manufacturing. He believes it every day, and unfortunately for him, with October being Manufacturing Month, him and I have been spending a lot of time together the last 30 days in October, visiting a lot of manufacturers. We've had a lot of press conferences about some new programs that are coming out from the Manufacturing Innovation Fund. And we had some fun time during happy hours this month as well. So we're trying something new, going around the state with some happy hours and that's where Colin enjoys the most, I think, is the happy hours more than the press conferences. The manufacturing tours have been fantastic. Folks have been so gracious with their time with Colin and I and some folks from the ecosystem, showing us their facility and telling us everything that's going well and maybe some issues where we could work on a little stronger. Colin wrote the foreword to the manufacturing report, and I just want to grab some of his comments. He notes that the median size for Connecticut manufacturers between 20 and 25 employees. And he emphasizes how critical it is for state policymakers to understand that the health of our small and medium-sized manufacturers will dictate the health of manufacturing in this state. And Colin's stats are very similar to the DNA of CBIA. The small and mid-sized manufacturers in our organization represent about 85% of our members are less than 100 employees of manufacturing members. They're the critical supply chain to the larger CBIA OEMs like Sikorsky Aerospace, one of our great members that you'll hear from in a little bit. And they create 3 to 4 additional jobs for every one new manufacturing job that they create. An incredible, incredible compound number. The needs of these small and mid-sized manufacturers are what drove our advocacy at the Capitol this past year. And it's the solutions for rebuilding Connecticut, a change in thinking, and really real collaboration that we need to build upon our many strengths. You know, overall, the 2021 session that we just finished up in June really delivered a strong platform for rebuilding the state's economy, addressing many of CBIA's priorities. From a state budget, I hope that you're all happy with no tax increases finally, targeted investments in our cities, workforce development, childcare, and historic reform of our unemployment system. There were certainly some disappointments, and we're going to continue to fight hard this session like we always do. We're going to fight hard to really repeal the capital-based tax, get rid of the temporary corporate surcharge, exempt personal protective equipment and training from the sales tax and use, expand the manufacturing apprenticeship and R&D tax credits to pass-through entities, which are the majority of our manufacturers in the state. I can't highlight enough the work that the CBIA team has done this year. We have some incredible numbers that I want to share with you from our government affairs team. 5,800 hours lobbying. I don't know there's 5,800 hours in the 4 months, but 5,800 hours lobbying, many late nights and early mornings, 115 public hearings that they testified at, 100 bills that they testified on. We saw the passage of 23 positive bills, and we fought and defeated 80 anti-competitive bills. I would certainly like to play more offense than defense, but we've got to play a lot of defense sometimes. But this year we were fortunate to get 23 offense bills through, and we're very happy about that. In total, the efforts of our team saved companies on average $843 per employee. That's a phenomenal return on investment. And we're going to continue to fight hard this session. We're in the process right now of developing our priorities for the 2020 legislative session. And a lot of those priorities are being shaped by you all. Interviews that we've done, surveys that we've done, like we'll be releasing today, and conversations we're having with legislators, the administration, some folks that Colin has been able to connect us with, a guy by the name of Governor Lamont, Josh Gabal and David Lehman, and we've got a great relationship with them right now, and we'll be releasing our policy priorities in December. At the top of those priorities, clearly, will be the labor shortage. How many folks right now are having a hard time retaining or recruiting employees? Yeah, the survey is unbelievable with that number. And having toured the facilities with Colin, I know many of you have, apparently the average age of your toolmaker seems to be about 85 years old. I remember in my business, quick story, I'll digress. My team's going to sweat it out here because I'm going to run over time, but I had a 90-year-old torch brazier, which is a process that people used to do before welding, before the kind folks at Sikorsky finally changed their drawings and allowed us to weld instead of braze. And we all had a bet about when this gentleman turned 90, we knew he was going to retire, right? That's the magic age for retirement, is 90 in manufacturing. And sure enough, he turned 90, and he walked to my office that day, and I knew it was his birthday, so I shook his hand and said, "Happy birthday." And he said, "I'm here to tell you something." And I was like, "Here it comes." And this guy was the first guy in the office every morning, last guy to leave, always there on the weekends, and he says, "I'm thinking about going part-time." And I was like, that's going to hurt us. You know, those 90-year-olds are always faster and better than all the other people around them. I don't know what we worked with Concept. We tried to debug the process. And I said, "What are you thinking?" And he says, "I'm thinking 40 hours a week." I shook his hand. I hugged him. I had a tear coming down my eye. I said, "How about 50 hours a week?" So our affiliate Concept is collaborating on a number of key public-private partnerships, including the Manufacturing Skills for Connecticut program, the Connecticut Defense Manufacturing Community Consortium, simplifying resources around Industry 4.0, the technology group that we're co-leading with CCAT, and the Minority Business Development Agency Advanced Manufacturing Center. Our other affiliate, Ready CT, in the room today is managing a growing portfolio of important workforce development programs that I know are critical to you all, including the career pathway programs for manufacturing, which we're now moving out of Hartford into other schools around the state. I know Ansonia is here with us today, the public schools of Ansonia. I certainly remain optimistic about our future, and I know that's shared in our survey. It's cautious optimism. You know, we've got a lot of challenges ahead of us, no doubt. But it's clear that the resiliency and innovative spirit that you all bring every day in response to the COVID is going to springboard us forward in our economic recovery. You know, our opportunities for the state's economy, for job growth, and our communities is vast. We've got to continue to work together, and we've got to continue to encourage our policymakers to be diligent in promoting pro-business, pro-manufacturing, pro-economic policies. You'll be hearing today from 3 of Connecticut's next-generation manufacturing leaders. Our own Concept, B. Gutierrez, will talk with Burke Aerospace, Brittany Ursherwood, the Lee Company's Marietta Lee, and Bead Industries' Jill Mayer about their leadership journeys, their strategies for growing their companies and positioning for the future, and their outlook for Connecticut. I'm also thrilled to have Sikorsky President Paul Lemmo with us today. I was fortunate to visit Paul the other day, again, on one of these tours with Colin. And the first thing you do when you walk into Sikorsky is you take a picture with Igor Sikorsky. It reminds you instantly of that vision that he had, of that power of ingenuity. It sets the tone for the conversation about what we can do differently. How can we reimagine things? How can we be better? How can we return to be that dominant state in the country? We're fortunate to have Paul leading Sikorsky. I got to tell you this. He's not only become a great friend and a great supporter of CBIA, he's moved to Connecticut, and now he's a taxpayer. So we're all paying a little less, hopefully, because of Paul. But most importantly about Paul, he's optimistic about the future. And like any great leader, he understands the challenges, but he sees them as opportunities. We don't run from the challenges, we embrace them, and we nurture them as manufacturers. And we get to the root cause, and we put those corrective actions in place. Sikorsky's made a major commitment to Connecticut, as many of you know, 5 years ago, agreeing to increase not only their workforce, but in-state supplier spending. And I'm looking forward to Paul talk about those topics, as well as the digital transformation that we're all embracing right now, the future of fixed-wing aircraft, and his projections for our state's manufacturing sector and economy overall. We're fortunate to have TD Bank Mike Labella here to introduce Paul. Mike also is a great friend and supporter of CBIA. He loves coming to this event every year and seeing you all because it's only about a mile from his house. And that is where the after party will be. So, Mike, come on up and introduce Paul, and I'll come off the stage, and folks can be done with hearing my jokes. Mike Labella, everybody.
when you're out of practice on these things, it takes a minute or so. But yeah, there was a lot of challenges going on. I was very happy this morning that my suit fit. I'm able to button the button. I remembered how to tie a tie, so we are halfway there. So really, on behalf of all of us at TD Bank, we're really proud to be the presenting sponsor of the CBIA Manufacturing Conference and Awards. It's such a critical component of the Connecticut economy. And today, really, I want to take a minute to congratulate all of today's award winners for their outstanding contributions to Connecticut manufacturing industry. As Chris said, we have some challenges ahead. Hopefully, looking out at the crowd, this is it's just energizing to see people in person again. And it's really, hopefully, COVID is a little bit in our rearview mirror. But as we all know, we still have lingering effects. We have supply chain issues, cyber fraud, trade conflicts, commodity prices, political conflicts. So, we still have some things to do and some things to overcome. But, at TD, we help manufacturers address some of these issues. We probably can't deal with the political issues of the world, but certainly cyber fraud and helping with your supply chain issues through our trade finance area is an area that we can certainly help with. And, we have some of our films today. We'll show you some of the videos about what we can do. And certainly we have our representatives here today that can follow up with you later on. It is now my pleasure this morning to introduce Paul Lemmo, president of Sikorsky, a Lockheed Martin company, which has deep roots in Connecticut that span nearly 100 years. An electrical engineer by education, Paul has been with Lockheed Martin for more than 30 years. Since joining Sikorsky in January of 2021, he has been responsible for leading Sikorsky's 13,000-person workforce, more than 8,000 of whom are in Connecticut. As you know, Sikorsky designs, builds, and sustains all types of helicopters. Paul has been gracious to join us today to give us an update on what's new at Sikorsky, and he's pleased to answer any questions after his presentation. Please join me in welcoming Paul Lemmo.
Thanks. Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Chris. Chris, thanks for what you and CBIA are doing for manufacturers in Connecticut. I can tell you, and I hope you'll see through my presentation today, that manufacturing is certainly not dead, and Sikorsky, I believe, is transforming the face of manufacturing in Connecticut. Mayor, good to see you again. Thanks for coming out, and we appreciate the partnership with the town of Stratford. And Chris, good to have you at the plant the other day, so thanks for spending time with us to understand what we do and how we're transforming. It is great to be back in person. I completely agree with what Chris said. I'm kind of tired, personally, of sitting in front of Zoom like a statue. You can't move because you might go off camera and or people might not hear you. So it's good to be up here, be able to move around and see people in person again. Well, I've got a short presentation today, and I've interspersed some videos to keep it lively. I'm sure the videos will be much more interesting than me, but hopefully get you pumped up early this morning. We are changing the face of manufacturing, and I want to show you what we're doing. It's pretty exciting. So we're going to roll this first video, which really just kind of goes through our product portfolio, and then I'll move through the briefing and talk a little bit about what we're doing on the manufacturing front. So please roll that first video. Those are some beautiful helicopters. And those are designed right here in Connecticut and for the most part built here as well. So I always like to start with this picture of our founder, Igor Sikorsky. He immigrated to the U.S. in 1919 and made his home in the Stratford area, the foundation of the corporation, in about 1929. But he started the company in 1923, and so we are going to celebrate our centennial in 2023, and we're looking forward to that. We still live by his vision, and his vision is the helicopter would save lives, it would bring people home every time, everywhere. And that's what we live by every day. And I believe we build the safest helicopters in the industry, and I think if you talk to our customers, they would agree with you on that. He was the chief engineer, the chief test pilot. It's pretty amazing that he lived a very long life considering he flew most of his early products after designing them. And as I've learned the history of this industry, there's a lot of people who did the same and did not live to tell about it. So I think it's a testament to the design engineering that he did on those early helicopters. But we are a company of about 13,000 employees, 8,000 of which are in Connecticut. We've got a number of sites here in Connecticut, and we're supported by a very large industrial base here, which we're really proud of. In fact, I talked with a few of our suppliers here today. Thanks for coming out and joining us today. In fact, in the last year, we've spent over $450 million with over 250 suppliers in the state. So that's how big and important the state is to what we do and keeping us on schedule and on budget for what we deliver to our customers. But it's not just about, drawing from the resources of the state. We also like to give back. Just in the last year, we gave over $700,000 to a number of different charitable organizations. We tend to focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. We tend to focus on veterans organizations and then other community areas in need. In addition to that, during COVID, we gave close to $1 million to organizations on top of thousands and thousands of personal equipment, personal protective equipment, which we either bought or manufactured for local hospitals and companies in need that didn't have the capability to do it themselves. So we like to give back as well as draw from the local communities. If we go to the next chart, I'll talk a little bit about our products and our market segments. So we're organized in 5 different areas, the first of which we call Army and Air Force, and this is what most people know Sikorsky by, the Black Hawk helicopter. It has been a mainstay for 4 decades. It was a major program that Sikorsky won in the 1970s, and it's been in production really ever since. There's over 4,000 Black Hawks in service today around the world, not just with the U.S. military, around the world. We sell them to many different countries. So that is still in production, although it is tailing off, and we'll talk more about that in terms of what's going to replace that. We also build the Combat Rescue Helicopter. This is a variant of the Black Hawk helicopter, and it's produced for the Air Force. And this has the mission to go in and get pilots who are down behind enemy lines, or anywhere really in the world. It's a critical mission, and so that helicopter tends to be armed and have a lot of protective equipment on it to accomplish that mission. But again, getting people home every time, everywhere, safely. Over in our maritime mission systems area, we have what's called the Seahawk, another variant of the Black Hawk. You'll see the theme here that once you have a helicopter, you can produce many different variants for many different customers. So the Seahawk resides usually on Navy ships, and it flies missions that do anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare. So it's loaded with a lot of different sensors to go out and detect submarines, to detect small surface craft, and warn the Navy of threats that are coming towards their larger ships. And then for the Coast Guard, we produce the MH-60 Jayhawk, again, another variant of the Black Hawk. This helicopter helps save lives. If you're watching after a Hurricane Katrina or any of the more recent hurricanes where people are getting plucked off of roofs, generally it's a Jayhawk that's doing it. And I'm pleased to say that the Coast Guard has put their faith in us to really standardize their rotary wing fleet around the Jayhawk going forward. So there's going to be more business there to come, which we're very excited about. And then I'm going to skip over future vertical lift for a minute and go to Marine Corps systems. And this is really, right now, the growing part of our business. So, years ago, we produced a helicopter called the CH-53E back in the 60s and 70s. Those aircraft have been out doing a tremendous job for the U.S. Marine Corps of transporting troops and equipment wherever they need to be around the world. A number of years ago, we won the contract to build the CH-53K. Now, you might think that going from an E to a K, and if you actually look at the pictures, they look very similar, and you might think it's the same aircraft, but it's not. They're completely different. In fact, there's maybe a few parts, a handful of parts, that are the same from one aircraft to the next. This is a completely digital aircraft. It was born in a digital environment, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. It can lift 3 times what the 53E could lift. So it's incredibly more capable as well for the Marine Corps. We're at the front end of that program. We finished development. It's in operational tests with the Marine Corps, and we just delivered our first production aircraft from Stratford. And I know many of you are familiar with the agreement that we signed with the state 5 or 6 years ago to keep production of that aircraft here in Stratford. And it's been an incredible deal for both us and I think for the state, because in addition to the funding and support we got from the state, Lockheed Martin has already invested $600 million in our factory. And I think Chris and Colin, you got to see that when you came out the other day. That's on our way to $1 billion investment. So we're committed to investing $1 billion in the factory. It's not going to be a factory that you would recognize from 5 years ago. It's all digital, and we have the capability of building aircraft as large as the 53 kilo and as small as one of the future vertical lift aircraft that I'll talk to you about. So that's a key program. We're going to build hopefully 200 of those for the Marine Corps, and we won a contract with Israel to supply them as well, and we've got several other international countries that we're working on to bring that work here into Connecticut. So really big for us. And we're in the middle of production on the next presidential helicopter, the VH-92A. And we'll be delivering those first production aircraft here soon. It's not a big build, about 23 aircraft, but nonetheless important, obviously, for the mission of the President and all the executive leadership of the United States to fly on those aircraft. We are so proud to have that mission. We've had it since President Eisenhower. We've flown every president since Eisenhower. And it's just a mission that we're very proud of and we take extremely seriously. On the right-hand side, you see our global commercial and military systems. This is where we combine everything that we sell under a commercial business model, whether it be actual commercial aircraft like the S-92 or the S-76, which are purchased by oil companies or leasing companies that fly people out to oil rigs. They're purchased by head of state or other companies that would like to have a helicopter. Or some of our military helicopters, which we sell under a commercial model internationally. That's all done out of this line of business. And you can see a few of the programs there. We're very proud of the Firehawk, again, another derivative of the Black Hawk, which is used to put out fires. We've sold many of them to LA County, really all across California as well as Colorado. And it's really helping the firefighting mission because it doesn't have to go land like a fixed-wing aircraft to suck up the water and be able to go back out again. It has a snorkel. It can dip the snorkel in a local lake, suck up several swimming pools worth of water in seconds, and go on and do the next mission. So it does not have to return to base in between missions, only when it has to refuel. So it's a great capability. We think there's a lot more business out there for the Firehawk. And then you see the CH-148 Cyclone. That, of course, is our Canadian maritime helicopter patrol aircraft, which we build for the Canadians. That's flown off of their naval ships, and we're in the middle of producing those and getting those complete as well. So a lot of business there. But our future is really around what's called the Future Vertical Lift Program. This is for the U.S. Army. There's actually 2 different programs in there. One of them is going to replace the Black Hawk. So think about our 40-year franchise, and if we don't win that program, what that means to our business. And then the other one is a smaller armed scout helicopter, reconnaissance helicopter for the Army. That would actually be a new market space for us because we're not in that today. So one of these is sort of upside. The other one is existential because it's going to replace something that we've produced for 40 years. So we're in the middle of those competitions right now. In fact, we just submitted our proposal for the one that's going to replace the Black Hawk, otherwise known as the Future Long-Range Assault Aircraft. I'll talk a little bit more about those, but those are our business segments. That's what we're working on today and what our future holds. So I thought I'd share that with you pretty quickly. If you go to the next chart, this is the 53K, and that picture up on top was taken from the first flight of the first aircraft here in Stratford. And we've tried to let the community know because this is a very large aircraft and it does make a lot of noise. So if it flies over your house, I apologize in advance for the noise, but it's a pretty impressive aircraft, and I think you'd agree it provides some critical capability for our Marine Corps. You can kind of see in the lower left our factory and how we're setting up to produce the 53K. Again, an all-digital factory. You can see some of the operations that it's already undertaken during its testing. The one in the middle is aerial refueling while carrying a maximum load, sling load under the aircraft. Pretty capable pilots to be able to do that, but I'll tell you, because it's a digital fly-by-wire aircraft, the pilots will tell you it's pretty easy. We just kind of put it on autopilot, set the right settings in the cockpit, and the aircraft does all the work for us. It has great capability to fly in degraded visual environment. You can see one of the things the Marines encounter frequently is a sand and dust environment when they're coming in to retrieve soldiers because of the size of the helicopter. With the sensors and the fly-by-wire controls on this aircraft, it can handle that. Again, they can put it in a hover mode and the aircraft will land itself based on the sensors that it has. So just amazing technology. And again, this is the foundation for us here in Stratford. I would say for the next 5 to 8 years. This is really going to sustain us as the Black Hawk tails off. But if we go to the next chart, again, just to come back to that future vertical lift, this is that long-term future. This is beyond the next 7 to 8 years. I mean, quite frankly, it's important in the near term from an engineering base. Because we've kind of wrapped up the CH-53K development, we need something for our engineers to do. They've been working on these two programs and getting ready for the bids over the last number of years. We're hopeful that we win at least one of them because that's going to sustain the engineering base for a number of years. And then production, these will enter production towards the end of this decade, which will pick up as the 53K production tails off. So that's why they're so important. And we think we've got just an incredible offering. You can see these helicopters don't look like the other ones that I've showed you. You can see they have two main rotors up on top, and they actually have a pusher propeller in the back. And the reason is the Army wants speed. And we developed a technology we call X2. X2 means twice the speed and twice the range. So these helicopters are capable of over 250 knots, which is about twice the speed of a Black Hawk of 120 knots. So think about that. That's close to 300 miles per hour, just to kind of do that translation. And they can go twice the distance of a Black Hawk helicopter. So very long range, very high speed, very maneuverable because of the dual rotor, which provides extra lift and maneuverability. And I guess really the best way to talk about this is to show you a little video. So let's roll the next video.
47 true airspeed as a level flight speed that we've achieved. We're going to focus on some other things, maybe doing some Army missions, doing some more load factor.
Watch that, I'm so impressed because normally we'd have a helicopter chasing a helicopter, but with these aircraft, because they're so fast, we do have a jet that chases them. That's down at our West Palm Beach facility. That's where we do most of our prototype assembly and testing. A lot of more favorable weather down there to do it all year round, so that's why that's where we do that. But make no mistake, our plan is to build those aircraft here in Connecticut should we be fortunate enough to win. So my last topic today, I'm going to talk more about this digital transformation because I mentioned that the CH-53K was born in a digital environment. That's the first aircraft that we've done from womb to tomb in a digital environment. That means, you know, look, we've had digital design tools for decades, really, a couple decades. But with the CH-53K now, we've extended that into manufacturing. So meaning everything we do in the design is translatable onto the manufacturing floor. So when George and the team put the tools out on the floor now, these are automated tools that actually get information from that digital model about, for example, how much they should torque a particular bolt. And that torque wrench will have an automated setting from the digital model so that the technician doesn't really have to think about it. They just have to put the automated torque wrench on the bolt and it will torque it to the right setting, and it'll tell them if they forgot a bolt, right? Because in some cases there might be 50 bolts that have to be tightened down, and they're wearing a set of virtual reality goggles, and it'll signal them if they missed one in the sequence. Those are the kinds of automated technologies that we have on the production floor. And then we extend it into sustainment. So after these aircraft are out and they're operational, the Marine Corps care very much about how the aircraft are going to be supported. And we have a whole set of digital tools now for the technicians to maintain those aircraft out in the field. Everything from remote tech assist. So they'll have, you know, let's say an iPad, and we'll have one, and we could talk to them and show them what the issues are. They hold the iPad up to the piece of equipment that's suspect, and it'll highlight some things for them to go check. So all kinds of digital tools out in the field. This is really how aircraft are going to be designed and built from here on forward. And as I said, the CH-53K is the first one, and it's in production, and we're proving all those technologies out. These two aircraft for future vertical lift will absolutely take that to the next level. And the next level for us is really something we call model-based system engineering. Not to get too technical, but what it means is that we can actually fly and simulate everything these aircraft can do before we put the first bolt on the aircraft. And I mean, you know, not just the fact that these aircraft can fly, but how much they can lift, how fast they can go, what kinds of missions they can conduct for the Army. So it's a great set of technologies and tools that we can collaborate with our customers and really show them how the product's going to work before they take possession of it or before they even spend the first dollar to build it. So pretty incredible. We've invested a lot of money. Lockheed Martin as a corporation is investing several $1 billion in digital technologies, and a lot of it's coming right here to Sikorsky because we have these programs that are so critical to our future and to the nation's future, quite frankly. So I guess I'll end with a final video which actually drives this home a little bit more about our digital transformation. So if we could, let's roll that video.
Across RMS, we're introducing new emerging technologies and reimagining our processes for the digital age. Connecting the digital thread from design through sustainment to drive speed, agility, and affordability in everything we do. New program starts, like the CH-53K and Raider X, are being born in an all-digital environment.
Our designs start up front in 3D, and we maintain that digital thread all the way through the manufacturing and assembly processes.
The ME comes in the planning stages and creates 3D graphical op sheets. And now with those 3D graphical op sheets, before I even go and give this to manufacturing to start to build, we go into a virtual VR environment with a mechanic and an ME, and we actually go through the installation before we even allow it to go onto the floor. So now when the mechanic gets this on the shop floor, in the build portion, he uses a mobile device, pulls up his graphical op sheets, he can manipulate it and do whatever he needs to do right on the aircraft, point of use. It's game changing.
What we have now is a digital thread from concept all the way through to manufacturing. So what that allows us to do is to better plan out our processes, do something like a build before you build. So we error-proof it before we start building our first job, which reduces overall cost, which translates all the way down to the customer.
So in an effort to reduce the ergonomic risk associated with the installation of the main gearbox on the CH-53K, we had this cart design behind me where the cart will automatically torque to the specified torque value as called out in the drawing. and then it will actually walk the operator through the torquing sequence. So the operator doesn't need to rely on a drawing to interpret the specification correctly. All they need to do is follow the instructions as specified by the cart and lift it up and hold the button. It'll torque the values automatically and then save those values electronically in the work order, eliminating the need to manually transmit any data.
In the past, we used to use 2D blueprints we'd have rolled out on a table, and now with the tablets, we can bring in the digital technology. The best tool we've had in the 30 years I've been here.
This is for the next generation and the generation after that. Somebody laid the groundwork for me 35 years ago. This is the groundwork for the next 35 years.
And I'll tell you that if you walk the factory floor and talk to them, whether they're a new employee, very junior, or a 35-year employee, they all are enjoying this technology. It's the first thing our customers ask. Every time they come through, customer will pick the most senior employee and say, how do you like this new technology? How long did it take you to learn? And you know, surprisingly, they love it, and they said we picked it up very quickly. It's pretty natural. And as you can see, it's a paperless factory. We're really not, putting out large blueprints anymore. It's all either on tablets or computers. They can roll it around. And the nice thing is they're not looking at a two-dimensional drawing. They can rotate it. They can strip away layers. So just a great set of tools and something that we're investing a lot in. So I'll leave you with, thanks to all of you who support Sikorsky. I know, again, there's suppliers here in the room. Thanks for sending us your talent in Connecticut, because one thing I've learned since my first 10 months here is we have incredible talent in that factory and in our engineering shops and really throughout the company. And we couldn't do it. The differentiator for Sikorsky is our talent. Yeah, we have great products, but the products are created by the people in the business. And so send us your best. We're hiring. During the pandemic, we hired 1,000 people in 2020, which was double 2019. Amazing that we were able to do that during the pandemic. And in the last 9 or 10 months, we've hired another 600. So, with the attrition and retirements and some growth, we always have openings, and please send us your best talent. So thanks for your time today, and I'm happy to take some questions.